levels in the atmosphere at the federal level, or the long-term effects these levels are having on global climate change. The weight of scientific evidence indicates that greenhouse gas emissions from human activities, including the burning of fossil fuels and other sources, are causing rising global temperatures, as you all know. The measures proposed in this legislation will benefit the economy, human health, the environment, and national security. With this proposal, all revenues from the carbon tax are returned to middle and low income Americans to protect them from the impact of rising prices due to the tax. The proposal, I strongly support California's approach to CO2 reduction through cap and trade and LCFS and other programs, but I believe that it is incumbent upon us to make sure that the feds are also working on it, and this, in my view, is because of its revenue neutral approach, is a more viable program for the federal level. With me today are two witnesses, Jerry Hinkle, Citizens Climate Lobby of Marin County, and Kathy Orlinsky, Citizens Climate Lobby of Orange County.
Thank you. Please. Customer service.
Okay. Hello, and thank you to Chairman Hertzberg and to the rest of the committee, Senator Morlock, for being here in this hearing. My name is Kathy Orlinsky. I live in Irvine, California. I got my PhD in microbiology at the University of California, Irvine, and then stayed home to raise my daughter. She's now in college, and I co-lead the Orange County chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm very proud to call myself a Californian, especially because of California's consistent leadership on the things that matter most. And for me, at the top of the list is fixing climate change. As Californians, we lead the way on climate action, but this is an issue that California cannot fix on its own. We need a national policy on climate change. AJR 43 asks Congress for a revenue-neutral carbon tax that is collected at the source and distributed to American households. Because we care about both climate health and the economy, Citizens Climate Lobby commissioned 2 studies to see how a revenue-neutral carbon tax would affect ordinary Americans in both the long and short term. Our long-term REMI study shows that 20 years down the road, not only do CO2 emissions drop to well below 1990 levels, resulting in saving tens of thousands of lives, but also creates millions of jobs for the U.S. economy compared to not having had a revenue-neutral carbon tax. In the first year, because everyone gets a check in the mail, 84% of Californians would either come out ahead or very nearly break even under a revenue-neutral carbon tax plan like the one proposed. So with a revenue-neutral carbon tax, we have a solution that quickly cuts emissions, saves lives, adds jobs, helps the economy, and does not burden ordinary Americans. Not only should all Californians be grateful to you for passing this resolution, but so should all Americans. Thank you very much.
Can I, before you speak, sir, can I just quickly establish a quorum? Secretary, call the roll.
Hertzberg?
Here.
Hertzberg present. Nguyen? Bell? Bell present. Hernandez? Here. Hernandez present. Laura? Morlock? Morlock present. Pavlik?
Thank you. We have a quorum. Please, sir.
Great. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. We really appreciate it. My name is Jerry Hinkle. I'm an economist. I have a master's degree in climate policy. I serve on the board of directors of Citizens Climate Lobby, and most importantly, maybe I am the father of 2 wonderful daughters. I want to acknowledge yourselves in the state of California. Many of us went to Paris for the COP talks, the climate talks. And one of the themes that was absolutely clear is that California is seen globally as a leader in climate policy. And it just made me proud to be a member of the state. So thank you for that. Citizens Climate Lobby is a group of 30,000 plus volunteers internationally. We take a completely nonpartisan approach calling for a revenue-neutral carbon fee. And we sort of stand in the middle of this debate, and we treat all parties with appreciation and respect. So last year, we published 4,000 pieces in papers in the U.S. and Canada, and we met with 1,200 congressional members. Let me reflect a little bit of what we hear from Congress. There really is an increase in support for this type of bill. Conservatives seem to be appreciative because it doesn't grow government, it doesn't increase the tax take, and it doesn't increase the body of regulations that businesses are subject to. And it very much embraces the free market. We improve upon the free market by getting prices closer to right, internalizing the externality. Progressives really appreciate it because it appears to be effective in dealing with the climate issue, and because those most vulnerable in society, have a smaller carbon footprint, they buy less, they benefit financially. It's not an intent to redistribute. We don't do that. It's simply as George Schultz, who's on our advisory panel, would say, it's simply charging producers the full cost of the product. So conservatives are appreciative, progressives are appreciative, and the revenue neutrality, as Representative Williams stated, is key. And it's key because, first of all, with revenue neutrality, this becomes a much more politically feasible possibility. It's a non-starter with Republicans unless it is that way, or so it appears. But secondly, it is with revenue neutrality, when you give all the money back, that you've got a chance of getting the price on carbon high enough to really generate sufficient mitigation, carbon reduction. British Columbia may be a fabulous example of this. It's a popular approach. They've gone up to $30 a ton, and every year the government produces a report showing where the money went back, the tax cuts, the money to the poor. So it's popular. As evidence that it is of increased interest and support in Congress, last year Chris Gibson started the Gibson Resolution. House Resolution 424 now has 14 total, 13 co-sponsors. That's 14 Republican members of the House of Representatives that have stood up to say the U.S. Congress should act to resolve the climate issue. Then this year, the Bipartisan Climate Solution Caucus began, that has 16 members, 8 Republicans, 8 Democrats, and that caucus is working to find solutions. We believe that there's enough momentum that next year we're going to get good centrist climate legislation in the U.S. Congress. Your voice in support of a simple, commonly agreed solution could make a world of difference, especially if there's bipartisan support. So we thank you for your attention. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkle. Others